Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are,
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your borders are, Tom Homan said, they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep well, I don't want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well, what you're going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job. Excuse me, Kristen.
Yeah.
We don't have to separate families.
Yeah.
We'll send the whole family very humanely back to the country where they came. That way the family's not separated.
So no more family separations. You're not reviving the zero tolerance policy.
Well, it depends on the family. The family may decide to say, I'd rather have dad go, and we'll stay here. And in which case they have that option.
But you're not going to revive your zero tolerance policy, which was put in place as a deterrent. Is there any universe where you would bring that back, sir?
We need deterrence. Look, ready? When somebody comes here illegally, they're going out. It's very simple. When they come here illegally, they're going out. Now, if they come here illegally, but their family is here legally, then the family has a choice. The person that came in illegally can go out, or they can all go out together. And that was made very clear by Tom Homan.
Meanwhile,
I might be deported because I'm a naturalized citizen. And Stephen Miller, who is Donald Trump's deputy chief of staff, has said that they're going to embark on a denaturalization program. So I could be deported, my citizenship could be taken away, and my children could be deported because they have birthright citizenship.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this CNN panel, boohoo, whining, and crying about Trump's interview with Kristen Welker. That has gone super duper duper viral. It's actually been good for NBC, whose ratings have been struggling. I believe that this is the highest rated interview that they've had all year, right? That interview with Trump. But one of the reasons why is because Trump did an excellent job doing this interview at articulating the America First agenda, which is what the American people voted for. And a part of the America First agenda is mass deportations and preventing people from coming into this country illegally. And that involves getting rid of the incentives that we have for people to come into the country illegally, which includes birthright citizenship, okay, which has triggered the left, triggered this CNN panel because they are afraid of Trump mass deporting anchor babies, right, and their families, right? And that's essentially something that Trump and the border czar, Tom Homan, have promised that they said, okay, you guys don't like separation of families. Okay, cool. Well, we're not going to separate families anymore. We're just going to deport the whole family, right? That's what we're going to do, okay? And again, they're boohoo, whining, and crying about that, right? So it's either damn if you do, damn if you don't, because what these people ultimately want is for more mass illegal immigration into the country. That's what they want, okay? Because they are afraid that they will have to pick the cotton, right? They are wondering who's going to pick our cotton. And I've already suggested that all of the federal bureaucrats that Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are going to fire, they can pick our cotton, right? I mean, we already have a replacement for the illegals, okay? It's the federal bureaucrats. So with that being said, again, they're going to boohoo, whine, and cry about Trump proposing to deport families, right? And anchor babies, right? Get rid of birthright citizenship. And I want to react to it. So without further ado, let's get into it.
And I think that goes to the origin of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was created for Black people who had been enslaved, who are now free. It was one of the Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. And the 14th declared birthright citizenship specifically for Black people. So this isn't just a Latino issue. This is an issue about
right, but
who you
Solomon,
go after when you're finished with the Latinos.
But Parliament,
who do you
Solomon, hold
go
on,
after
hold on.
after you do that? This is
Give your
something
race
that
a little
black
bit
people,
more credit.
This is something that black people should be very concerned about.
Okay, Solomon, hold on. Black people
weren't
weren't running here, okay? They were taken here. There is a big difference between being pulled out of your continent into this continent and you deserve rights versus people who are coming into this country without obeying by the laws.
Why was the 14th Amendment created?
To help the people who were brought here against their will.
Right.
Okay?
And who
these
are those people?
These are the black people.
Okay.
These are people
And
who
so
are coming
therefore,
here.
that's why I'm making the point
they're
that I'm
coming here
making.
voluntarily against the law. Christina, what you said about the system
Was
being
it
broken,
lawful to enslave
nobody
black
could
people?
disagree with you.
Yeah, it's
No
not
one could
working.
disagree.
I mean,
If we were to have a real
Yeah, so this black dude right here, right, is essentially trying to argue that Trump wants to get rid of the 14th Amendment. And that's actually not what Trump wants to do. Okay, I think what Trump is really doing here is that he's playing politics in the sense that he is striking a chord with the American people on this issue of birthright citizenship that not too long ago, a lot of people saw this as a fringe issue. I don't think it's a fringe issue. I am one of these people where I am against birthright citizenship. In fact, I actually do not believe, at least from my understanding of the 14th Amendment and that first clause, that it actually applies in the way that we apply it today, which basically means anybody born here in the country is a citizen. I don't think that's actually what it means, because if you actually read the text, it says any person born in the United States or naturalized and subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America is a citizen, right? I mean, the key part here is and subject to the jurisdiction of. Now, most of the legal and scholarly debates about the 14th Amendment and the citizenship clause have to do with, well, what does that mean, right? What does jurisdiction actually mean, okay? And for whatever reason, we've interpreted it to mean that, well, anybody in the United States, if you're a legal immigrant, you are therefore subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America. And if you have a kid, then technically they were born here and they're subject to the jurisdiction, right? Which is what would make them a citizen, right? That is the very, very, very loose way of applying it. However, I personally don't believe that's how the framers of the citizenship clause actually meant for the clause to be applied. And why do I say that? Well, because Senator Jacob Howard, who was actually the author of the citizenship clause, doing arguments with his other fellow senators about this, he actually reassured them that no, this actually doesn't apply to Indians, right? Indians living on their reservations, no, they're not American citizens, right? Because there was concerns about whether or not this would apply to Native Americans. So Native Americans did not enjoy so-called birthright citizenship until the 1920s, when Congress passed legislation basically lumping in Native Americans as those who, have American citizenship, if they're born here and whatnot, right? So we know for a fact, because there had to be congressional legislation to remedy that issue with Native Americans. That's not what it actually really meant. What jurisdiction actually really means is who you owe allegiance to, right? You're under the jurisdiction of whatever country or foreign power that you owe your allegiance to, right? If you don't owe your allegiance to the United States, then therefore you're not subject to our jurisdiction. In my opinion, that is the proper interpretation. So I personally don't believe that you need a constitutional amendment in order to remedy this issue. I don't think you need to get rid of the 14th Amendment. I actually think you just need congressional legislation. And with a Republican House, a Republican Senate, a Republican presidency, hey, who knows what can happen? Even though I have doubts that the Republicans actually have the stones to pass that type of legislation, I don't think that they would. And even if they did, I'm not sure how it will hold up in the courts. But since the courts are overwhelmingly conservative for the most part, the federal courts, the Supreme Court, who knows, right? Maybe, just maybe, all you need is legislation and you don't need a constitutional amendment. I don't think an executive order would get it done, though, right? I don't think an executive order would do it. I think at the very least you're going to need legislation and to see if that actually holds up in court, in the conservative courts. And if not, then you're going to need a constitutional amendment. And a constitutional amendment is, again, that's just too high of a bar, right? I don't think that you're going to get enough Democrats on board to actually get that done. But it's an interesting debate nonetheless, right? Because we have to talk about the incentives for mass illegal immigration in this country. One of the biggest incentives is birthright citizenship. The idea that, hey, if I could just get across the border and just have a kid, if I have a baby, then I'm good. Because hopefully, since my kid is a citizen, due to the fact that they were born in the United States, then therefore I'm not going to be deported, right? Because it's mean and cruel to deport families or to separate children from their parents, right? And yeah, birthright citizenship, again, is a huge issue when you talk about incentives for illegal immigration. And I think that's why Trump is talking about it. At the very least, he is starting a conversation that definitely needs to be had. And I actually think there's more support for it than you think. I don't think it's fringe to say, hey, we should reevaluate birthright citizenship specifically for illegal immigrants, okay? Now, when it comes to legal residents, that's a different conversation. But when you talk about people who are here illegally, yeah, I think there's a lot more people in this country that agree that we should not have birthright citizenship for illegals than CNN in this panel would like to believe.
Look, all of us here benefit from immigrant labor.
I was just
If
going
you
to
just
say,
like came,
That's all they worried about, bruh. That's all they worried about. Who gonna pick the cotton, right? It's like, okay, since you're so concerned about that, you can pick the cotton. You can pick the cotton, right? When anybody asks, when any of these liberals ask, who gonna pick the cotton? You can pick the cotton, right? We have prisoners. We got unemployed men. We have teenagers. We got federal bureaucrats that need to be fired. We have plenty of labor, okay? I don't want to hear about who gonna do the hard labor, who gonna do this job, who gonna do that job. Anybody that's unemployed that doesn't have a job can do the job, right? And we have plenty of people that are unemployed that should be doing these jobs, okay? Nobody in this country is above doing the work that illegal immigrants do. That's the problem. That's the problem. You got too many people in this country that think they're above that. And it's no, you're not above that. For example, you know, this isn't exactly picking cotton, but, you know, it wasn't too far removed. We talk about the type of labor that illegal immigrants do. Hey, my parents made me cut the grass, and I had one of them big yards, right? Living out in Eastern North Carolina, big yards, hot, push more, right? Made me and my brother cut the grass. So I'm just saying that I was 10, 11, 12 years old, hated it, but it put some hair on my cojones, okay? I'm just saying. I've been working since I was 16 years old, and I think that it made me a better person. I don't think there's anything wrong with teenagers doing some of these jobs because that's how it's always been, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with getting prisoners to do these jobs. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting some of these unemployed men to do these jobs. So I hate when people present this question as if they're not able-bodied people in this country that can do the labor that illegal immigrants do. We don't need illegal immigrants for slave labor, okay? We have plenty of people who are able-bodied that can work.
if you just like came, took the train, you ordered delivery from a
100%.
restaurant, or you had a nice meal at a restaurant, we all here depend on immigrant labor. And what he's talking about is going after families, going after workers, and going after entire communities that will destroy not only families.
I didn't talk about criminals.
I think that there's a real need, though, to try and maybe this is where Democrats should be adding value and maybe aren't adding enough value, to really not just look at individuals, but to look at what this country needs and where people are actually getting jobs and working. Because our country does depend on immigrant labor in all sorts of industries. And that's something where, you know, to be honest, Donald Trump cares about growth, economic growth, as do Democrats and immigrant activists. And so, you know, when Christina says there needs to be a thoughtful conversation about this, the rhetoric needs to go away. You need a thoughtful conversation.
You can't say we need immigrant labor and then have people here sustaining major parts of our economy and they say, oh, by the way, we don't want you, we're going to deport you. So we really need to have
we obviously are a nation
a conversation.
of immigrants, and we do use immigrant labor in this country, and it's very important, but you can't have a country without laws. And the political reality is that the American people believe the border is not secure. They believe the immigration system is a mess. They believe the politicians in Washington have failed. And they believe this has gone on and on and on. And a major reason he won the election is to clean it up. And part of cleaning it up is saying, if you came here illegally and you don't obey our laws, we're not giving you special privileges anymore. That's the political bottom line.
Yeah,
I think
but
that
you know what? He
didn't
didn't clean it
in
up
his
last
first
time.
term. Right. He didn't. Right.
It's not that easy.
He did a
It's
better
not
job
that
than Joe
easy.
Biden.
What you mean he didn't clean it up? What you mean he didn't clean it up? The levels of illegal immigration were a lot lower under Trump than they are right now. Okay. Now, again, you know, did he do everything he wanted to do? No. But he did a whole lot of things to help take away the incentives to come into this country. And here's the thing. Part of the reasons why it's hard to clean it up is because of people like this always boo-hoo whining and crying. Oh, you're deporting families. You're separating families. Yeah, all that public outcry, it makes it hard to do what you got to do, right? It makes it hard to clean it up. So my suggestion to these people is that when Trump starts deporting these families, right, and these anchor babies, close your eyes. Look the other way, right, so you don't see it, so you don't get triggered. And they'll make it a lot easier to fix the system, right? If you're basically saying that, well, Trump didn't, okay, well, help him out, right? The way that you can help him out is to close your eyes and don't look. Turn the other way as the illegal immigrants get deported, right? That will help out a lot, because the only thing stopping Trump from fixing it, right, from cleaning it up, again, is public outcry from these liberals, boo-hoo whining and crying, right? That's it. That's the only thing stopping them. But hey, I think this time around, that's probably not even going to be enough, because the American people, again, they voted for this with the understanding that Trump was going to execute on this.
Where's the wall?
Why did Joe Biden throw out all of his executive orders on day
Did you
one that
call,
led to
though,
this
a better
crisis?
job traumatizing over 5,000 children, separating
How many children has this
families?
administration lost track of? Do you know? It's tens of thousands.
Yeah, the Trump
tens of
administration made
thousands.
it impossible to have any way to be able to
Where
reunite.
have you been the last 4 years, honestly? I mean, the Biden administration
nobody's done a good job with
has
this,
done
Scott, but,
nothing
you know,
but make this worse. The political reaction to this in November was to go back to Trump because they believed he had it under control and could get it under control.
Jennings,
I
you
think it's
hear in that
scapegoating
ending birthright citizenship,
This has been
in that vote, I mean.
This has been a long-standing argument of some on the right who are immigration hardliners. I assume it'll be litigated. To me, the most critical issues are border security, deport the criminals, people with deportation orders. That's where you got to start.
Okay.
And the DACA thing,
Probably-
which he said in the interview, is
You're
is a
limited
vital
there. You'd
issue.
probably be.
Yeah. So you see that, you heard that. Okay. Like I said, the only thing stopping Trump from really getting the job done is the boo, whine, and cry, right? The public backlash. Okay. And I think that's really as far as Trump's going to go with this. This is why I think they keep coming out here and they say, well, we're going to start with the criminals first, because nobody can cry about the criminals leaving. Now, again, they will, right? I mean, the Democrats, they will cry about the criminals getting deported, but they'll just look really stupid, right? But after the criminals are deported, that's when things will really get interesting in regards to the illegal immigration conversation. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.